Okay, excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us for our webinar today, how to get more funding for your startup with patents. Now we're going to turn to the topic of today's webinar, which is how to get more funding for your startup with patents. Now, of course, all startups need to have more funding. This is an important topic for you, and we are going to get you started with it. So I'm your presenter, Dr. Devorah Graeser, the founder and CEO of KISS Patent. I am a US patent agent. I have 21 years of patent experience, and I've spent a lot of time also in-house helping startups realize their dreams with patents. So I've been on both sides of the table. All right, this is what happens when you spend way too much time with lawyers. Nothing in this presentation or in any material provided, whether verbally or in writing, constitutes legal or patent advice. Startups have many challenges. Now, I know I'm not saying anything that you haven't all heard before, but this is a really important point for all startups. You have a lot of challenges to overcome. Less than 1% of all US startups have VC funding. Now, this may sound surprising. After all, we hear in the news every day about another startup getting an amazing amount of VC funding. TechCrunch is full of these stories. Silicon Alley for New York City is full of these stories. And yet, less than 1% of all US startups have actually succeeded in getting VC money. On the other hand, competition from other startups is growing for investment funds, for talent, employees to help them out, for sales, for users. It is so easy right now to start your startup, to get it launched. The barrier to entry is much lower, and as a result, there are tons of startups, and they're piling into the hottest spaces. Like I mentioned before, VR and AR, but there's lots of other places as well. They're getting into Bitcoin blockchain, another big area. Anything to do with social, anything to do with enterprise, all of these areas are super, super competitive, and startups are pouring into them all the time. Having users and sales isn't enough now for startups. Used to be you had a great idea, you could get funding. And then it used to be that if you had users and sales, you could get funding. But no, none of these things is enough. So what will help you to get funding? Well, my question to you is, can you prove innovation? Can you prove that your startup is innovative? Too many startups look the same. Investors complain about the lack of investment opportunities. Now, this may sound really strange. How can this be? I talk to investors all the time, VC investors, angel investors, all of them complain that they have all this money and they have no startups that they can give it to. Why is this? Well, the VC funds are required to distribute their funds. They raise a fund within a certain period of time. They have to distribute the money. That's how they make their money. That's how they make their business. That's what their investors in the VCs, that's what they want them to do. And yet I've had VCs complain to me that there are too many Me Too startups out there and that there aren't enough unique and valuable opportunities for them to invest in. Angel investors are in a very unique position. Many angel investors do not only invest in startups. In fact, I would say all the angel investors I've ever met do not fund only startups. They invest in a wide variety of areas. Some of them are extremely diversified: stocks, bonds, hedge funds, property, mature companies. Angel investors have many places they can put their money. And so when they complain about lack of investment opportunities, what they're saying is, we don't see enough startups that are compelling enough, so we'll invest in them and not in some of these other opportunities that we have. So I ask you now, does your startup have proof of its uniqueness? Can you prove that your startup is the investment opportunity for angels, for VCs, whatever stage you're at? How can you prove that you're unique, not like all the others, and you're the startup that they should invest in? Well, patents prove your uniqueness, but so much more. How do patents prove your uniqueness? Patents show that you have a valuable, innovative idea that deserves to be given government protection. Patents are the only form of permitted government monopoly that is not regulated, say, like utilities. It's certainly the only form that startups are permitted to have. So patents prove that you're unique to the world. Filing for a patent shows that you have an idea that you are able to differentiate from all of those other ideas out there and get a valuable piece of property. But patents provide so much more. Patents increase your startup's valuation by $1 million per patent filed. There are many reasons for this, which we'll get into later on, but at least one very important reason is that patents provide a valuable piece of property for your startup. And no, the foosball table does not count as valuable property, but patents do. And that's why they increase your startup's valuation by $1 million. And by the way, you don't have to take my word for this. VCs, I've spoken to VCs who have published through the internet and who have also spoken publicly. All of them talk about this $1 million valuation increase for startups. Patents increase sales by 51%. Now, increasing sales by 51%, this might be correlation and not causation, but you should know that for big enterprise companies, they will preferentially work with a startup that has patents as opposed to one that does not. Why? Well, these big companies, if they work with your startup and your startup is accused of infringing or trespassing on someone else's patent, but you have a defense, patents are that defense, then the big enterprise companies know that they have at least some insulation, some protection. Remember, if a big enterprise uses technology that is accused of patent infringement, of trespassing on patents, they're next in line to get sued. Patents are also shown to increase employment growth by 20 to 36%. Again, this might be correlation, not causation, but a startup that's organized enough to distill its unique ideas into innovations that can be protected with patents, that startup is organized. That startup is able to show to the world that it can get the job done and it can get that valuable piece of property. And of course, employees who have many choices these days, tons of startups and big co's want to hire them, well, they want to go with a company that has its act together. So why do VCs love patents? Well, as I mentioned before, patents are a form of property. They might be the only property your startup owns. Now, we all want startups to succeed, but we know that unfortunately for startups, it doesn't always work out. So what can VCs do then? Well, if you have filed for a patent, they can potentially sell that patent and get some of their money back. Why? Because patents are a valuable asset and patents can be sold separately from the company. Or if the entire company is to be acquired, then patents help boost the valuation of that company to the acquiring company. And again, they increase the return for VCs. So your investors can get at least part of their investment back through the sale of your patent, but when you're acquired or when you go IPO, the valuation of your company will be increased by patents. And of course, that also increases the return to your VCs, the return to your investors. So that's why VCs love patents. So what kind of patents do VCs love? Well, not all patents are created equal. The most valuable patents do two things. They block competitors from entering your market niche and they protect the core of your business. Now, protecting the core of your business means they protect that part of your business that you couldn't live without. The part of your business that if someone copied it, you would have a tremendous loss. What does it mean though to block competitors from entering your market niche? As a startup, you can't just have a great idea. You also have to have a great business model, a great go-to-market strategy. All of these things together are your market niche. Your idea, how you sell it, and to whom you sell it. That combination defines the niche that you have to protect. Patents can enable you to protect your market niche by keeping competitors from coming into it. Remember, you don't want to do all this work to develop a great market and only to have some other competitor swan in and steal all your clients. No, you want to block competitors from coming in to that market that you so painstakingly developed. And patents can help you do that, but not all patents. That's only what valuable patents can help you do. So how can you get such a valuable patent? Well, first of all, we have to talk a little about what patents are and what they can do and what they can't do, what they can protect and what they can't protect. Patents provide the broadest protection for your idea. They're the best defense against copycats. As I said before, you can use patents to keep copycats from entering your market niche. Patents protect the core of your idea. Remember, you need to protect that core of your idea so that others can't copy it. And the only way to do that is with patents. You can use patents to block competitors from entering your space. And again, only patents enable you to actually block your competitors from entering in your space or entering your market niche. No other form of idea protection allows you to do this. So what is patentable? Well, not everything is patentable. Basically, technology is patentable. Software, hardware, high tech. Other examples include mechanical devices, chemicals, drugs, etc. But another way to look at it is anything under the sun made by the hand of man or woman that actually was described as defining what is patentable in the United States Supreme Court decision, which decided back in the early 70s, I believe 72, that genetically modified bacteria, organisms, were patentable. So any kind of technology is patentable. Now I know there's been some talk recently about how software is no longer patentable, and that is not true. Software is broadly patentable in the US. The US is the best place to get your software idea protected with a patent, because it still provides the broadest protection. Not only does it enable you to protect the technology behind your software, but it also enables you to protect the business method, the business concept or commercial application that you have developed to which technology is applied. Now, what does this mean? What this means is in the US, you can actually protect the broadest form of your concept as long as it is embodied in software. You don't actually have to be restricted to a single technology or a single implementation. So in the US, you can still get extremely broad software patents, even up to and including the business method or the commercial application, the commercial concept that you have developed, as long as it's embodied in software, or for example, software and hardware. So remember that in the US, you want to protect that concept, not just the technology. So what is not patentable? Well, anything related to content. So if your idea is mainly content-based, it does not have any technology, then you're looking at different form of idea protection, which is called copyright. Copyright enables you to protect music, images, books, and video. These are all forms of content. Now, copyright's a much more narrow right. All that copyright gives you is the right to keep others from copying your idea exactly. It's difficult to prove copying if it's perhaps a related work. This is especially true for computer software. Your code is actually protectable by copyright, interestingly enough. But if someone changes your code, you can say recodes your idea, has a same concept, but a really different form of code, a different execution, it's very hard to prove copyright infringement. And this is also true for other forms of content as well. It's mostly defense against exact copying. What about names, logo, slogans? The Coca-Cola name, the famous Coca-Cola logo, or the slogan, Coke the real thing. All of those things are protectable by trademarks, which are marks, names, logo, slogans, under which you trade. And again, this is a relatively narrow right. Here, it is only going to protect names or logos or slogans, which are pretty exact. It's hard to get broader protection than that, although it depends on the circumstance. But again, these are not going to protect the core of your idea. Another thing which is not patentable is anything you want to keep secret. Let's say you have a process running on a server somewhere, and you have an app or other software running on some client's computer or mobile phone. You might decide you want to keep the process on the server secret. The question is, can it be reverse engineered? Anything which can be reverse engineered is not something that you really can keep secret. So you want to restrict things that you keep secret to those things you can keep others from learning. And those are called trade secrets. Now, why can't you get a patent if you want to keep something secret? Because the deal with getting a patent is you'll provide information about your idea, how it works, how to make it, how to use it, what it does, so that someone in your field, someone who understands this kind of technology, can make and use your idea. In exchange for which you'll get a patent, which, remember, it gives you that monopoly right. If you don't have something which is innovative enough, that is, it's not sufficiently unique, well, of course, you won't get a patent for it. But also, if you don't describe your idea well enough in a patent, you can't get a patent. So unless you plan to describe your idea in a patent, which will eventually become public, then you will not be able to protect it with the patent. Remember, secrets are not patentable. They have to be described. So what is a patent anyway, and why do you need it? Well, a patent is a form of idea protection. You can block others, and others can block you with patents. The fact that you have a patent, yes, it does act as a defense against someone accusing your startup of infringement, but it is not enough to enable you to go out and make and sell and use your own idea. So what will happen is if someone has a patent blocking you and you have a patent blocking someone else, you can make an exchange. That's why they're a good defense. So patents are defensive tools. As I said, they're also tools for offense, for litigation. You do not have to litigate your own patent as a startup. And in fact, I really do recommend for startups that they avoid patent litigation. It's very expensive. It's very hard to do. Instead, what you want as a startup is to get a patent, first of all, to increase your value to an acquirer. Remember, an acquirer doesn't want to buy your valuable idea only to see it copied all over the place. That's another reason why VCs and other investors like patents so much, because they know that the acquirer, which is one way to have a valuable exit, the acquirer will value a company more if it has patents. Also, if you want to go IPO, initial public offering, let's say that's what you want to do, you need to have enough patents in order to be able to do that. Facebook actually had to buy a bunch of patents before its IPO because the investors who were thinking about investing in Facebook, now as a public company, they wanted to buy its stock, they didn't feel that there were enough patents there. And so Facebook actually had to go and run around and buy a bunch more patents before they could do their initial public offering. So patents are great to increase your company's valuation for initial public offerings, IPOs, as well as for acquisitions. Patents are also valuable business assets and investments. They increase the value of your company. They're a form of property, as I mentioned before, so they're super important in that direction. And you can actually patent your idea in different categories with different types of patents. So you can get maybe a patent on your particular software system. You could get another patent maybe on the hardware that you use, maybe with some embedded software. You can get a design patent for how your idea looks. So there's different kinds of patents you can get. Now we're going to go a bit into how you're going to patent your idea, but one important point is you have to highlight the wow factor, that is the uniqueness of your idea. If you don't define the uniqueness of your idea, if you don't highlight it, if you can't emphasize it, well, then you also aren't going to be able to get a patent. Quite frankly, if you can't do that, you're also not going to be able to get an investment, and I don't think you're also going to be able to get customers. Customers want to know why you're unique. Why should they buy from you and not from some other startup doing something which to the customer looks similar? So we'll be talking about this in a moment as well, but remember, if you want to increase your customers, you also need to have patents. And can you get a patent for your idea? Well, your idea has to be novel or non-obvious, and non-obvious rather. Your idea has to be inventive, and you have to be the first to patent it. So we're going to get to that now in more detail. How do you get a patent? Well, you get a patent in 4 simple steps. The first step you want to do is to do a search. You want to find out if you're first. Google Patents is a great way to do this. Google Patents, and you can just do a keyword search through Google Patents. Very easy to do. Will give you a lot of great results. It's powered by the famous Google algorithm, which of course will float up those ideas to the top, which they believe are what you want to know. So they're going to bring you patents that they think you want to know. Of course, has some advantages and disadvantages. If you set up a call with me, then we can actually do a search together online for free. Next, you have to prepare your drawings and your text. Now, the drawings are really easy to do. I'll give an example of a patent drawing later on. The text simply describes the drawings. This is not complicated. You then file your application, and the examiner checks it. And if you fulfill all the criteria, if you're novel, if you have that inventive wow factor, if you described your idea well in the patent, and if you're the first one to get a patent, well, then that's it. You're going to win. You'll have a patent. Now, you would think that this would mean you get a patent really quickly, right? I mean, steps 1, 2, 3, they don't look so hard. They're not actually that hard. And step 4, well, how long can that take? Surely you get a patent right away. Well, no. You're right. Doing a search, not hard. You can do it on your own. You can hire us or another professional search firm to do for you. It doesn't have to take a ton of time. Preparing the drawings and text. Well, that can take 2 weeks or more to do. And that is also not extremely difficult. I'll show you examples of some patent drawings. They are not terribly complicated. Filing the application, I say one day, but it's actually even easier than that. You file for your patent through the government patent office in the US, as in many other countries. This is an electronic filing system. So you go to a website and you're able to upload your patent application, and you immediately get a number back, a serial number identifying your patent application, along with a receipt showing the day and time that you filed. So all that's real fast, no problem. But then we hit the roadblock. Oh dear, this is where things start to take a long time. The examiner checks your patent application. This can take 1 to 5 years or more. Oh boy. There's nothing you can do about that. It takes humans to do the examination process. The examiners are humans, and they're also overloaded. There's a huge backlog in pretty much any technology that people are interested in at the different governmental patent office, like the US Patent and Trademark Office, or USPTO. That's the governmental patent office for the US. Huge backlogs, not enough examiners, too many patent applications. It will take some time. However, for a startup, this is actually beneficial. Now, how can this be? This may sound kind of bizarre. You may say, well, no, I want to get my patent right away. But actually, as long as you have a patent application that's filed, and it's a state known as pending, meaning it hasn't yet become a patent, then you can argue that you, and by extension your startup, of course, deserve really broad claims. That your patent application that you filed has these really broad claims that you deserve because your idea is so unique, has such a wow factor, and you did such a great job on your patent that you should really get these broad claims. And to be honest, until the examination process starts, no one can really say this isn't the fact. So this shows that patent applications that aren't examined, well, they represent potential. And I have seen startups, including some of my clients, get bought under these circumstances. They didn't even need to have a patent. And of course, if you have this acquisition going on before you get the patent, well, you can argue you deserve these broad claims and hence a really valuable patent and hence a really strong increase in your startup's valuation. Another important point is that the patent application will publish during this time, unless you ask it not to. No, in all of the countries outside the US, the patent application must publish, and it'll publish 18 months from the day that you file. That's actually good in my opinion. It's an advertisement. It shows that you have this valuable piece of property and that you deserve a patent, and here you're publishing it to the world. The publication also has another important point. Publication allows you to display, to advertise to the world what it is that you're doing and to scare competitors away from your area, to scare potential clients away from your competitors, and even to scare VCs and investors away from your competitors. Now, how does this work? Well, let's suppose you filed for a patent, your competitor didn't. Your patent application publishes. Well, then your competitors, investors, or potential investors are going to see this published patent application and say, oh, wait a minute, we should not invest in this other company. We should invest in the company that has the patent application. Why? Because once this patent application becomes a patent, the company that owns it will not only have a valuable piece of property, but they'll be able to shut down other companies in this area, potentially. VCs, investors, they don't want to take that chance. They don't want to invest in that company that unfortunately gets shut down because another company filed for a patent before them. So remember, having that patent application, taking all that time, that's actually good for you. It will bring customers to you, scare away competitors, and also bring VCs and investors to you. Super big advantage of having that patent application be pending and published. So patents give you control. You can decide how others can use your idea. I have had clients who have decided that they wanted to allow not-for-profits to use their ideas without paying. That's what they decided. If you're not-for-profit, they didn't want to keep you from using your idea. Tesla decided that as long as competitors in the battery space did not try to attack them, these competitors could use Tesla's patents. In quite a famous post entitled, "All our patent are belong to you." This is, of course, a variation on the famous meme, "All your base are belong to us." Now, look it up in memes if you're not sure what I'm talking about. But Elon Musk said, look, we don't want to block innovation. We want other people to be able to use our better ideas as long as they don't attack us. So you can decide how others use your idea. Without a patent, you can't decide that. They can copy it, they can do whatever they want, and you're stuck. You can also block others from patenting your ideas. As we're going to get to in a moment, the one who wins the patent race is the one who files first. So remember, filing first means that you win. Filing second means you lose. And it can be a very short distance between filing first and filing second or third or whatever. What is the shortest amount of time I've seen? Well, only about 19 days between one of Snap's patent filings and that by a competitor in the same area. Snap, which is of course formerly known as Snapchat, could have lost their valuable piece of property, their valuable patent, because of that 19-day difference. So remember, you want to be the one to file first. If you file first, you can block others from patenting your idea. If someone files before you, not only can they block you from making or using your idea, but they can also block you from actually getting a patent. So this is very important. First to file wins. Second, patents keep big co's from stealing your idea. Now, some big companies are more notorious than others for stealing ideas. Microsoft keeps on ending up in court for copying other ideas of other companies, particularly startups. And if the startup doesn't have a patent, well, Microsoft says tough. There have been even some cases where Microsoft met with startups under NDA, and then later on the startups alleged that Microsoft copied their idea. So you do not want to be in that position where the big co is steering your idea. Big co's will respect patents. And if they don't, there are many ways you can actually use the patent to defend yourself. Whether you decide to defend it yourself, whether you decide to get an investor to come in and invest in your lawsuit, or whether you use it to get acquired and then that big co that acquires you can attack the other big co's. So what do you want to patent? Well, remember I said before that patents protect the core of your idea. So when you're thinking about what to patent, you want to focus on the heart of your business. This is the part of your business that you could not live without. This is the part of your business that if someone else were to copy it, you'd be totally out of luck. So remember, you want to focus on the heart of your business. Think about that. Think about what is most important to your startup. What do you want to patent? Well, anything the user experiences. Remember, clients, customers, they're not buying your great back-end tech. They're buying a solution. There's actually quite a famous expression saying that says that customers do not buy quarter-inch drills, they buy quarter-inch holes. In other words, they want a solution. So anything your user experiences, well, that is what you want to protect, because the user will buy from you for the solution that you provide. And so you want to keep other companies from stealing that solution, copying that solution, and then of course making off with your users. Remember, anything the user experiences is valuable, that's your unique solution, that's your unique value proposition. Remember, we started this whole thing off with, how can you prove innovation? How can you prove your uniqueness to investors who complain that they don't have enough unique ideas to invest in? By understanding what your user experiences, by understanding how that solution is valuable to your users and hence to your startup. And then by protecting it in a patent, you have demonstrated valuable uniqueness to your investors through preparing and filing the patent. So what should you patent? Well, first of all, decide what you're selling. Now, I know this sounds kind of really Startup 101, but I have spoken to quite a few startups who actually didn't seem to have a very strong understanding of what exactly it is they wanted to sell. So you need to know what you're selling before you can get a patent. Of course, you could also argue you need to know what you're selling before you can really be a startup, or at least a successful one. I would agree with you on that. Startup 101, but also Patent 101 for startups. What are you selling? Can you define it simply? Can you define it crisply? And do you know what's valuable about it? The second point is, what is your business model? This has become a bigger and bigger point these days because you need to first of all thinking about who you're selling to. Are you selling to enterprise, that is to say to the big coast? Are you selling to smaller companies? Are you maybe a B2C play? So you're selling to consumers, which of course is a very tough market to get into, but it's a very different market from B2B, other businesses. Within your business model, how exactly are you going to do it? Are you going to be like an OEM, an original equipment manufacturer? Are you going to be the Intel inside of your area where you sell your valuable product, software, whatever it is, hardware, to another company, which then packages it and sells it on to the final user or consumer? Maybe your business model is going to be SaaS, subscription-based. Maybe it's going to be downloadable software. Maybe it's a physical product like hardware. All of these things are different, and these are very different business models. These different business models demand a different view and a different version of the patent that you would want to file. Now, this may sound amazing, but patents are a business tool. Patents are a business tool to help you get funded. But in order for patents to be a valuable business tool, you have to really know your business and what it is you want to protect with a patent. Now, here's another question. What countries do you want to sell in? Patents are a per country right. If you want to get patent protection in the US, you have to file in the US. If you want to get patent protection in China, you have to file in China. Okay, we have a question now coming up. Someone has asked, what is the difference between the patent rules in the US and China? Excellent question. In general, for most forms of technology, the rules for examining your patent, that is to examine your idea and how it's expressed in a patent, pretty similar between US and China. The US gives much broader protection for software patents. So for example, a lot of e-commerce ideas, ad tech ideas, those ideas could be patentable in the US, at least they'd fall into a patentable category. They would probably not be patentable in China. Now, China is still kind of feeling its way through where it wants to draw that line as to what's patentable, what isn't in terms of patentable categories. So it's not exactly settled yet in China as to what is patentable in terms of software. But it is true that there are different rules between the US and China, and you could get broader software protection in the US. In Europe, on the other hand, software patent protection is much, much more narrow. So if you have a software idea, you'll get the broadest protection in the US, followed by China, followed by Europe. So you have to think about the countries you want to sell in, because of course you want to file in each of those countries, but also you have to obey the patent rules in those countries. So you have to think about how you're going to structure your patent accordingly. Here's another important point. If you publish your idea first, you can only file for a patent in the US and only 1 year within 1 year of publication. So what's a publication? Well, it could be releasing your product, whether as a SaaS or as a downloadable, doesn't matter, as a physical product, any kind of product release, that's a publication. Other forms of publications include giving a TED Talk, publishing your idea on your website or blog, getting an article in TechCrunch, Silicon Alley, or any of these other newsletters or magazines devoted to startup ideas or indeed any other kind of business idea. So any type of public release of your idea is considered to be a publication. And you need to think about whether or not you want to file for your idea before you publish. If you want to get patent protection outside the US, because, as I said, you know what countries you want to sell in, and you know you want to sell not just in the US, but outside the US, then you have to file for your patent before you publish your idea in any way, shape, or form. Before you make your idea public in any way, you have to file for your patent if you want a patent outside the US. Let's say you've already published your idea. Well, you can still get a patent in the US if you file within 1 year. So again, if getting US patent protection is important for you and you have published your idea, then you have to keep track of that 1 year deadline. If you lose track of it, well, then you end up losing your ability to get a patent even in the US. Now, getting back to the slide, another point you have to think about is what blocks your competitors. Remember, you want to define a market niche that your competitors can't come into. So So you also want to think about what your competitors are doing. If you have an idea that's maybe related to your idea, it's less important, you're not sure what to do with it, but your competitors could be interested in it, and you file for a patent, well, you've just increased your value to acquirers. Remember, acquirers want to buy you, not only because you have great ideas, but you have great defensible ideas. And if you can defend your ideas from your competitors, well, that makes you that much more valuable. Of course, blocking your competitors may also mean that your competitors, if they're larger companies, could end up buying you. They don't want to get blocked. So that's another example of what you should patent. So just to recap, what are you selling? Your business model, what is it? What countries do you want to sell in? Remembering that publication rule, you want to file outside the US, you have to file for your patent before you publish. And of course, what blocks your competitors. These are all things you should patent. Now, don't wait to file. Someone else could file first and block you. Remember, first to file wins. Remember Snapchat, they almost lost one of their most valuable patents due to a 19-day filing difference with the competitor. You don't want to be on the wrong side of that 19-day divide. And if someone does file first and they block you, well, it's like this road closed sign. You're pretty much toast. You could end up losing everything that you've built. All your dreams, everything you want to do could be blocked, just like this roadblock, because you didn't file first. So how can you file fast and without spending too much money? Well, we recommend filing a US provisional application. It enables you to file fast. It has the fewest regulations or rules, only available in the US, but it helps you to file fast in order to beat the competition. So remember, file first and win. You can change your patent within the year. The provisional application basically gives you a year to decide where else you want to file. Within that year, you can decide, you can update it. You can make changes, you can make additions. So even if you're into pivoting, you're not stuck with something that isn't valuable for you, the provisional will still help you out. There are fewer requirements to fulfill for such a patent. If you can whiteboard your idea, you can file for a provisional. Literally, it's that easy. And of course, the US provisional application is cheaper, but it gives you full coverage. It only lasts for a year, that's for a rule, so it's cheaper. But it gives you the same coverage during that year as a full application. I see we've gotten some more folks joining us. Just to let you know, if you did come in at this point, we are recording, so you've kind of missed a bunch of it, but please do feel free to ask questions. Also, for the latecomers, if you put in your email address into the chat, I set up the chat. If you see it, you can also put it in the Q&A if you want. We can set up a call later on. I'd be happy to go over the first part of the presentation and to answer any of your questions you may have. If you have any questions now, of course, do feel free to ask them. So this is an example of a patent drawing. This is actually a patent drawing from a patent owned by Facebook, on which Mark Zuckerberg is one of the inventors. It is really straightforward to do. There are these user devices. They're connected to a computer network, which by tradition is shown as a fluffy cloud. It does not have to be a fluffy cloud if you don't want it to be, but that's kind of the tradition for a computer network. Through the cloud, these user devices are connected to a server, which is shown as a social network provider, and that has a mini feed engine. And this is actually for the news feed. This is one of the earliest patents for the news feed from Facebook. As you can see, this is a really simple drawing to do. So if you can whiteboard your ideas, you can do patent drawings, and you can get your provisional application filed. So can you do this yourself? Yes, you can, but you need to know the following. Startups can be complicated, as can, of course, patents. So you want to be certain that you file for your patent with a good strategy. Remember, you wouldn't start your startup without a strategy, right? You wouldn't just leap out into the blue. You have a strategy for your startup. Well, you also have a strategy for your patent so they can be that valuable business tool that enables you to raise money. Get those VCs investing in you and not in your competitors. And of course, you also want to be confident you're making the right choice. One very important point to remember is that if you wait too long to file and someone files before you, then you lose. Filing first wins. So you would have made a decision by not deciding. That's not the right way to decide things, of course, as a startup. Another important point, if you publish your idea, yes, you can still file for a patent in the US, but only within 1 year. If you fail to file within that year, you have made the decision not to get a patent. Even if you weren't thinking about making a decision, you didn't think about, well, I need to decide now. Nope, you've made that decision, and your decision is you're not going to have a patent. So who is KISS Patent and how can we help? So who are we? Well, KISS Patent was founded to help startups realize their dreams. I have been preparing and filing patents for all kinds of companies, but especially startups since 1996. I have been through all of the dot-com booms and busts. And one thing that really bothered me from the beginning was that the patent business model, in fact, the whole legal business model, wasn't set up to serve clients. It wasn't set up to serve customers, it was set up to serve the lawyers. And this is especially true for startups. Startups, unlike big co's, didn't have tons of money they could throw at an idea. They couldn't easily navigate the legal channels, the different types of idea protection. They were pretty much not able to take advantage of patent rights. And patent rights are right for all inventors, for all innovators, not just the big co's. So I founded KISS Patent to help startups realize their dreams. That is a very important thing for me personally, and of course for KISS Patent as a company. Now, startup dreams are realized by successful ideas. Without a great idea, you will not have a great startup, and you cannot realize your dreams without that great idea. So you need to have a successful idea. Successful ideas lead to successful startups that realize their dreams. So we at KISS Patent get patents for startups to rocket those ideas to success. Getting a patent is putting rocket fuel in the engine of your startup. VCs love them. Remember, I said patents increase the valuation of your startup by $1 million. According to VCs, don't ask me, ask the VCs. They publish this evaluation, this incredible increase in your startup valuation all over the internet. They talk about it all the time. It is the rule of thumb. By getting your patent filed, you as a startup can rocket your idea to success by increasing your valuation. By being able to get investment. You need investment to scale, you need investment to get going. Well, this is one way you can set yourself apart from the crowd. And of course, once you've defined your innovation and you can show it to your customers, to investors, and also to your competitors, then you can increase your chances of startup success. So remember, we get patents for startups to rocket your valuable startup ideas to success. How can we help? Well, we have fixed price packages tailored to your needs that give full support for startups. Let's take these ideas one at a time. We do not work on hourly based fees. Hourly based fees are the enemy, in my opinion, of all customers, but they're definitely the enemy of startups. You work with a patent attorney on the basis of an hourly fee, and they don't give you a fixed price package, you don't know how much it's going to cost. You could end up blowing up your budget very easily. We only have fixed price packages. You pay only for what you need and you know exactly how much it's going to cost before you get started. We have different packages tailored to your needs. So we have full control about what you get and what you're paying for. Don't pay for something you don't need. And we have tons of experience with software companies and startups. So we give you full support to protect your idea that is designed for you, the startup. Now, our basic patent package is $2,500. It covers the US provisional application process for you. And we'll also give you a 10% discount if you order it with our Webinar 10 promo code, or if you're a Patent Community Center member, go to kisspatent.com and join our patent community, automatic 10% discount. But just for you guys, you can have a special discount on patents for a limited time only, 20% off our basic patent package, only available for you through this webinar. Add the webinar promo code at the checkout process, but also feel free to reach out to us to set up that call. Talk to us, we'll answer your questions. Maybe you're not so certain the basic patent package is what you need. Maybe you need something else. Talk to us and we will develop a package for you that meets your needs, again, only as fixed price. So I want to thank you all so much for joining me. If you missed the beginning, I see some people came on late. If you missed the beginning, please feel free to look at the recording, which we're going to have out soon, I hope, if the technology is agreeing with us this time. Does anyone else have any more questions? Yep, I see one here. So how does the provisional patent application help you if you want to file outside the US? Because it is only a US application. All right, so the way this works is you file first in one country. You file a patent application first in one country. In this example, it's the provisional application. You file it first in the US. Within 1 year, you can file all over the world. And you get the rights to the same date as if you'd filed all over the world the same day you filed for your provisional. Now, of course, it's a lot more convenient. Filing all over the world is expensive. So by starting with the provisional application, you start with a much less expensive process, and you can still file all over the world within 1 year. But there's an even better way to delay having to buy or file for your patent all over the world. You start with the provisional application. That's always the base. That's always the best way to start. But in 1 year, you file a PCT application. This allows you to buy another 1.5 years to file all over the world. So even if you know you want to file all over the world, the provisional application is the best way to start. If you've published your idea, you know you can only file in the US, you're still within 1 year after publication, the provisional application is the way to go. The provisional application is the best way for any startup to get their patent protection started. It's cost effective, especially with 20% off. It's time effective, doesn't demand a ton of your time. Fewer rules and regulations, so it's not going to cause a lot of headache for you as you try to get it. Nope, instead it's going to be smooth and easy. The provisional application is the way to go, no matter how you want to proceed afterward. Okay, any more questions? Awesome. Well, I want to thank you all so much for joining us. I know some of you joined late. Yes, we do have a recording. Yes, we will get the recording out. Yes, it will be sent to you automatically, so don't worry. Email me with specific questions, and if not, I'd really like to thank you again for joining us, and join us for our next one. Thanks so much, folks. Looking forward to seeing you again and speaking with you. Bye.